Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're digging into some really quite striking statements from German Cardinal Gerhard Ludwig Müller. This is all happening, of course, with an eye toward the next papal conclave. Our sources are interviews he gave to La Repubblica and The Times, picked up by 20 Minutes.
Right.
And our mission really is to unpack Müller's main criticisms about Pope Francis's time and, what that might mean for the Catholic Church moving forward.
Absolutely. And Müller isn't exactly subtle, is he? He's basically saying, look, this chapter with Pope Francis, it's over. He's calling very clearly for a shift back to what he terms traditional church teachings.
Yeah, chapter ended. That's quite definitive.
It really is. It signals a pretty deep disagreement about where the church should be heading.
And it seems like his worry about the next pope is, well, intense. He's talking core doctrine here.
Exactly. It's not just politics for him. He actually uses the phrase orthodoxy versus heresy. That's serious language within the church.
Not just conservative versus liberal, then.
No, he's framing it as fundamental belief. His fear, the one he states, is of a heretical pope. He wants the cardinals guided by the Holy Spirit, explicitly not by, say, media narratives or shifting trends.
Okay, so looking at specifics, he really takes issue with that Vatican-China deal from 2018. What's the core problem for him there?
Well, if you think about the church's history with state powers, especially communist states, Müller seems to see this deal as compromising too much.
Compromising how?
His term is a betrayal of Catholic principles. The likely concern is that the church traded away some of its independence, maybe its authority in appointing bishops, for what he sees as maybe limited practical gains on the ground.
I see. And then there's the issue of blessings for same-sex couples. He's been very vocal.
Yes. For him, it seems quite straightforward. The traditional church teaching defines marriage exclusively between a man and a woman.
So any kind of blessing for a same-sex union just fundamentally contradicts that teaching, in his view.
Precisely. It highlights that real tension, doesn't it, between, established doctrine and changing social views.
It does. But his concerns aren't just about specific issues like China or blessings, are they? He also brought up the Synod of Bishops.
Ah, right. The synod structure. His issue there is about governance, really.
What specifically?
It's about granting voting rights to lay people, and that includes women within the synod. Müller argues this blurs the lines.
Blurs the lines of what? Episcopal authority.
Exactly. Historically, the synod was an advisory body of bishops for the pope. Giving lay members a vote changes that dynamic, and he sees that as problematic for traditional church structure.
He also warns against the church becoming, I think the phrase was, a secularized humanitarian organization.
Yeah, that's a key theme for him. He's pushing back against the idea that the church's main role is social work or political action.
So the primary mission is spiritual, and everything else is secondary.
That seems to be his core argument, that focusing too much on the worldly, on the humanitarian, risks overshadowing the central religious purpose of the church.
And this concern extends even to interfaith dialogue, particularly with Islam.
It does. He cautions against what he calls relativistic approaches.
Meaning?
Meaning, he seems worried about downplaying core Catholic beliefs in the name of dialogue. He appears to advocate for maintaining clarity about doctrinal distinctions, even while engaging with other faiths.
Okay, so let's bring it back to the conclave. Cardinal Müller himself is an elector. He'll be in there voting. How does him being so public change things?
Well, he's a prominent conservative voice, no question. By stating these criticisms so strongly beforehand, he's clearly trying to influence the discussion among the other cardinals.
Trying to rally support for his perspective.
You could certainly see it that way. It definitely signals there's likely to be a significant debate, maybe even a struggle, between different visions for the church's future within that voting body.
So if we were to sum up his main points, what are the key takeaways for you?
I'd say it boils down to upholding traditional doctrine above all, maintaining a clear hierarchical structure, and keeping the church's focus distinctly spiritual. His statements really lay bare that deep divide we see.
A divide between tradition and, well, adapting to the modern world.
Yes, exactly. How the church navigates that seems to be the central question his comments raise.
It absolutely points towards a potentially very consequential election for the next pope. It makes you think, doesn't it? When you look at these forces, tradition, change, internal politics within such a huge, ancient institution like the Catholic Church, what does it tell us about the challenges any large organization faces when trying to navigate its past and its future?